Just how bought off are the U.S. elections? You don't want to know, but I'm going to tell you anyway. The truth about how bought off our elections are is one of those things where once you see it, you can't unsee it. It's like the Matrix or your mom kissing your stepdad. That strange man who always walks around in his pajamas and watches Fox News intensely, even during the commercials. What is that? No country spends anywhere near the amount the U.S. spends on elections. The last election cost $14.4 billion. That's like 5 avatars worth. In the near future, everything will be measured in avatars, including severe depression. Doctor, I'm bluer than 3 avatars and a Smurf. Do you have pills?
Oh, no, I'm not in the group yet. No, I'm afraid I just blew myself.
Anyway, $14.4 billion is an insane amount of money. And a lot of that came from billionaires who wield unbelievable power to decide who runs our country. The top 10 donors of the 2 main parties donated $1.2 billion. On top of that, almost $1 billion of the 14.4 came from outside interest groups who don't disclose who their funders are. It's all a big secret, like my extramarital affair with the 3 Musketeers. That's right. I had a 4-way with a candy bar. Love is blind and sticky and filled with nougat for some reason. But how much impact does spending all that money on our election really have? Sure, they dump a lot into these festivals of electoralism, but maybe it doesn't matter that much, you know, like graduating college with a media studies degree. Your family may say, great job, but prospective employers find it to be less important than the 7 pieces of flair on your work vest. Be honest, they'd rather hire the guy who dropped out in 8th grade but has a big pin that says, happy is a choice, not a result. Important side note, I saw that pin stuck in a urinal at an IHOP once. I would pay good money to know the story behind how it got there. But the money does matter a lot. Money purchases our leaders, as they're called. The candidate who spends the most wins 93% of the time in the House of Representatives and 82% of the time in the Senate and 95% of the time in the Capitol Hill food court.
Dollar bills, y'all.
That's a lot, but it gets worse. And no one ever talks about this part. The 2 candidates who spend the most money win the election 100% of the time. That's all of the percentages. Every last one of them. Even I know that, and I went to public school on a boat. At least, my dad told us it was a boat, but I think it was just a flooded RV. All I know is my first schoolyard crush was a sea otter. Point being, no one outside of the 2 corporate parties, which are actually one party, ever win a federal election because they don't have the money. The whole thing is just bought off. And here's another way it's even worse than it already sounds. If it looks like a candidate with a lot of money is not going to win, that candidate just dumps in more money until it's enough to win. This is why if you look at the actual individual races, in many of them, the money ratio is 10-1. The winner poured in as much money as needed to win, no matter how much that money, how much it was. Kind of like the New York Yankees. You know, let's be honest. You know it's true. You know it's true. This is a big reason why a large 2014 Princeton study found the U.S. is not a democracy. It's an oligarchy. We are ruled by a tiny elite business class of corrupt parasites. The study didn't say anything about parasites technically, but you know, they wanted to, okay? They just had to use the scientific terminology like all the other nerds at the nerdery. Oh, stop crying into your Battlestar Galactica t-shirt and get with the times. Not sure why I'm insulting them. They're kind of heroes. So, much like a dog walker neck deep in a McDonald's ball pit, we need to ask ourselves, how did we get here? Well, many believe the problem is the 2010 Supreme Court decision Citizens United, which tilted political influence toward the richest people and corporations in the world. In that decision, it was decided that money equals speech, and if corporations are people, then they're entitled to their free speech, which means they're entitled to spend an unlimited amount on elections in order to turn our government into a Sopranos underground pool room.
3/8 full, Santa Maria, yes!
But the rigging of our elections actually goes back way further than that, because corporations had been defined as equivalent to humans for many decades by the year 2010. In fact, it goes all the way back to 1886 in the case of Santa Clara County versus Southern Pacific Railroad Company. But get this, it wasn't actually part of the Supreme Court's decision. It wasn't even written by any members of the Supreme Court. It was written as a head note by the court reporter. A head note is basically the court reporter jotting something into the margins, which he or she believes will help clarify things as he or she understands them. So it could be something like, please note, I went to the bathroom for 45 minutes in the middle of this because I had some bad Indian food. But in the Santa Clara case, it was, please note, I think corporations are the same as human beings because I'm a dem-dem. So part of the reason we now live in a corrupt oligarchy is because some low-level court stenographer got it wrong. Well, not quite. That was a trick question. The reporter was actually a man named J.C. Bancroft Davis, who happened to be the former president of the Newburgh and New York Railway Company. So the oligarchs created corporate personhood, which led to a full frontal oligarchy by putting an oligarch in as the court reporter. Damn it! They're so dastardly! Ultimately, the two-pronged attack of the 1886 corporate personhood with the 2010 money equals speech turned the United States into a wholly owned subsidiary of corporate America. It's technically called inverted totalitarianism, but I don't have time to explain all that. I don't actually understand it. Like where babies come from. Is it Portugal? Money wins U.S. elections nearly 100% of the time. And what happens if a candidate without tons of money looks like they still might have an impact on the election? Well, in the case of Dr. Jill Stein, she was kidnapped. Seriously. Well, technically, she was handcuffed and locked in a basement, but potato, or fascism, that's an expression I'm workshopping. Back in 2012, as The Guardian reported, Green Party candidate Jill Stein was shackled to a chair in a nearby New York police facility, along with her running mate, Green Party vice presidential nominee, Sherry Honkala. Their crime? Attempting to get to the debate so Stein could participate in it. Despite being on the ballot in 85% of the country, they were chained to chairs in a basement for 8 hours and then released. It was almost as if the ruling elite simply wanted to stop them from being anywhere near that debate. And they succeeded. What's the moral of this story? Our system is completely, 100% bought and sold by the richest people in the country. Spread the word. However you need to. You call, text, pigeon, I don't know, smoke signals, semaphore flags, whatever you gotta do. That's all for now. If you want to see more of these, support my work at patreon.com/leecamp and subscribe to Breakthrough News.